The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow over the bustling streets of a small town in the heart of America. The neon sign of Harvest Table flickered to life, its soft light promising a place where every meal feels like home. But behind the welcoming facade of this beloved family restaurant, a storm was quietly brewing. Rachel Evans, a woman in her early 40s with a calm but determined gaze, stood just outside the back entrance. Dressed in a simple black polo shirt, dark jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low over her chestnut hair, she looked every bit like a new waitress ready to start her first shift. But Rachel was no ordinary waitress. She was the CEO and founder of Harvest Table, a woman who had risen from serving tables to leading one of the most popular family restaurant chains in the country. For years, Rachel had built Harvest Table on a simple but powerful philosophy: treat every customer like family, respect every role in the restaurant, and never compromise on quality or kindness. Her journey had started in a small diner, balancing trays and memorizing orders, dreaming of a place where everyone felt welcome. Now, her name was on every menu, and her face graced billboards across the state. But recent whispers and troubling reviews had shaken her faith in the culture she'd worked so hard to create. Rumors of staff favoritism, tip theft, and rude service had begun to surface. Loyal customers complained of being ignored, and some employees whispered about a toxic environment where kindness was punished. Rachel knew she couldn't ignore these signs. So, she made a bold decision. She would go undercover, step back into the shoes of a waitress, and see for herself what was really happening behind the scenes. As she stepped through the swinging kitchen door, the familiar clatter of plates, the murmur of orders, and the low hum of conversation filled the air. The restaurant was alive with the scent of fresh baked bread, sizzling bacon, and the faint hint of cinnamon from the morning's pies. The warm glow of pendant lights cast soft shadows on the polished wooden floors, creating an inviting atmosphere. Rachel's first encounter was with Mason, the shift manager. Mason was a tall man in his late 30s, with a sharp jawline and a no-nonsense attitude. He glanced at Rachel with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "You're the new girl, huh?" he said. His voice clipped but not unkind. "All right, you're on Section 3 tonight. Keep up, and don't slow us down." Linda, a veteran waitress with years of experience and a reputation for being tough as nails, was less welcoming. She eyed Rachel with thinly veiled disdain, her arms crossed as she muttered, "Hope you're ready to work. This isn't a tea party." Rachel swallowed the sting of their cold welcomes, but knew this was part of the reality she needed to face. As she adjusted her apron and took her first order pad, Rachel observed the restaurant's dynamics. Mason and Linda seemed to run the floor with an iron fist, but their leadership style bordered on harsh and unforgiving. She overheard snippets of conversations where they criticized Alex, a young server known for his warm smile and genuine care for customers. "He's too soft," Mason said quietly to Linda. "Spends too much time chatting with the older folks and not enough hustling." Alex, meanwhile, was juggling tables with a smile, refilling drinks, and comforting a nervous elderly couple. Rachel admired his dedication but sensed the tension as Mason and Linda exchanged knowing glances. In the dining room, Emily, a part-time college student and new hire, was clearly struggling. Her hands trembled as she balanced plates, and the seasoned servers shot her impatient looks. Rachel caught Linda whispering to Mason, "She won't last long if she keeps this up." Despite the pressure, Emily's determination shone through. She paused to help a mother calm her crying toddler, offering a gentle smile that seemed to momentarily ease the child's distress. As the lunch rush began, the restaurant filled with a mix of families, students, and workers on their breaks. The atmosphere was lively but tense beneath the surface. Rachel noticed how Mason and Linda prioritized the VIP tables, ensuring their orders were perfect and their needs met promptly. Meanwhile, other guests waited longer, their requests met with curt responses. Behind the scenes, Rachel caught glimpses of a darker reality. She saw Mason pocketing extra tips meant for the staff, and Linda manipulating order tickets to claim rewards. When a customer complained about a missing side dish, Mason shrugged it off and blamed Alex. Rachel's resolve hardened. She knew she had to gather evidence, but she also wanted to understand the human side of the story. During a brief lull, Rachel struck up a conversation with Alex. The young server confided in her about the challenges of working under Mason and Linda's watchful eyes. "They make it clear that kindness is a weakness," Alex said quietly. "But I believe treating people right is what this place should be about." Rachel nodded, feeling a surge of pride and sadness. Later, Emily approached Rachel, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "I don't know if I can keep up," she admitted. "They're tough, and I'm scared to make a mistake." Rachel offered a reassuring smile. "You're stronger than you think. And you're not alone." As the lunch rush wore on, Rachel continued her work, her feet aching but her spirit unbroken. She listened, observed, and took mental notes, piecing together the story of a restaurant struggling to live up to its own ideals. When the last customer left, and the lights dimmed, Rachel stood in the empty dining room, the echoes of the day lingering in the air. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready to face it head-on. Because at Harvest Table, every meal should feel like home. And it was time to remind everyone of that truth. The next night at Harvest Table, the air was thick with the scent of roasted chicken and fresh-baked rolls. Rachel Evans, still in her disguise as the new waitress, felt the tension the moment she clocked in. It was a brisk 61 degrees Fahrenheit outside, but inside, the restaurant pulsed with a different kind of chill. The regulars were already trickling in, a retired couple who always ordered the meatloaf, a group of college kids cramming for finals, a construction crew grabbing dinner after a long shift. Rachel tied her apron and glanced at the seating chart. Mason, the shift manager, was barking orders at the host, his voice echoing off the tiled floor. "VIPs in Section 1, got it? Don't waste time on the back tables." Linda, the veteran server, was already gliding through the dining room, greeting a well-dressed family with a smile that vanished as soon as she turned away. Rachel's section was the farthest from the entrance, tables 15 to 20, right by the windows. She noticed right away that these were mostly the ordinary guests, a single mom with 2 kids, a pair of elderly sisters, a young couple sharing a plate of fries. The VIPs, businessmen in suits, a local politician, and a social media influencer were all seated up front, where Mason and Linda hovered like hawks. As she began her shift, Rachel watched the subtle ways the hierarchy played out. Mason slipped extra dinner rolls to the VIPs, offered free dessert to the influencer, and checked in with the politician 3 times in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, Linda breezed past the back tables, barely making eye contact with Rachel's guests. Rachel hustled, refilling water glasses, chatting with the sisters about their grandkids, helping the single mom cut up chicken for her youngest. She saw Alex, the young server, doing the same, taking time to explain the menu to an older gentleman, fetching extra napkins for the college kids, and always smiling. But the kindness didn't go unnoticed by the rest of the staff. At the server station, Linda muttered to Mason, "Alex is wasting time again. He's never going to make it here if he keeps coddling the old folks." Mason snorted, "He's dragging down our tips. We need to keep the pace up, not play social worker." Rachel kept her head down, but her ears were wide open. She started jotting notes on her order pad, not just food orders, but every little injustice she saw. She watched as Mason, accidentally, rang up an extra drink for the VIP table, then pocketed the cash when the guests didn't notice. She saw Linda forget to pool tips from a big party, slipping a $20 into her own pocket before the rest was split. The drama escalated during the dinner rush. A regular customer, a retired teacher named Mrs. Parker, flagged Alex down to say her soup was cold. Alex apologized, rushed to the kitchen, and brought back a fresh bowl with a smile. But Mason intercepted him at the pass. You're not supposed to comp food without my say-so, he hissed. That's coming out of your tips. Alex's face fell, but he didn't argue. He just nodded and went back to work. Later, Rachel caught Emily, the part-time college student, looking lost at the service station. Linda told me to cover her section for a bit. But I don't know the regulars yet, Emily whispered, her hands shaking. She said if I mess up, it's on me. Rachel offered a reassuring smile. You're doing great. Just be yourself. People can tell when you care. Emily nodded, but Rachel could see the anxiety in her eyes. As the night wore on, Rachel noticed more patterns. Mason and Linda always seemed to be in the right place at the right time, when a big tip was left, when a VIP needed something, when a mistake could be blamed on Alex or Emily. They were a team. But not in the way Harvest Table was supposed to be. Rachel decided to test the waters. When a table of regulars complimented her service, she thanked them and made sure to pool the tip with the group. She watched as Linda shot her a look, then whispered to Mason. She's not going to last if she keeps playing by the book. During a lull, Rachel found Alex in the break room, staring at his phone. Rough night? She asked. Alex sighed. It's always like this. I try to help, but Mason and Linda make it clear that I'm not one of them. They say I'm too slow, too soft. Rachel nodded. But the customers love you. That has to count for something. Alex shrugged. Not if I can't keep up with their rules. Meanwhile, Emily was cornered by Linda near the kitchen. You need to pick a side, Linda said, her voice low. Either you're with us, or you're with Alex. But if you're with him, you're on your own. Emily looked torn, glancing between Linda and Alex. Rachel saw the fear in her eyes, the fear of being isolated, of losing her job. The night dragged on. Rachel kept working, kept watching. She saw Mason void a ticket for a VIP dessert, then slip the cash into his pocket. She watched Linda forget to ring in a side order, blaming Emily for the mistake when the guest complained. Every move was calculated, every glance between Mason and Linda a silent signal. At closing, Rachel helped Alex and Emily clean up. The dining room was quiet. The only sound the soft hum of the dishwasher and the clinking of silverware. Rachel looked at her coworkers, Alex, tired but still smiling, Emily, anxious but determined, and felt a surge of responsibility. She knew she couldn't let this go on. She'd seen enough to know that the heart of Harvest Table was still beating, but it was being suffocated by greed and fear. As she walked out into the cool night air, Rachel made a promise to herself. Tomorrow, she'd start gathering real evidence. She'd talk to the regulars, check the books, and find a way to protect the good people from the toxic ones. Harvest Table was supposed to be a place where every meal felt like home. And Rachel Evans was ready to fight for that promise. No matter what it took. Stay tuned. The real story was just heating up. The next day at Harvest Table, Rachel Evans arrived early. Her mind already racing with everything she'd witnessed the night before. A thin layer of morning frost clung to the windows, but inside, the restaurant was slowly coming to life. The clock on the wall ticked past 7 a.m., and the air was still a brisk 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Rachel, still in her new waitress disguise, took a deep breath and walked through the kitchen doors. Determined that today she'd do more than just observe, she'd start gathering real evidence. The morning shift was quieter than dinner, but the patterns were the same. Mason, the shift manager, handed out assignments with his usual clipped tone. VIPs in the front, newbies in the back. Let's keep it tight, folks. Linda, the veteran server, was already in her element, chatting up a table of regulars and making sure her section was set up just the way she liked it. Rachel's section, once again, was tucked away, tables 18 to 22. Right by the windows looking out over Main Street. She greeted her first guests, an elderly couple who came every Tuesday for pancakes, and a young dad with his daughter, who always ordered extra syrup. Rachel moved through her section with practiced ease, but her eyes and ears were tuned for every detail. She started keeping a small notebook in her apron pocket, jotting down every suspicious move. She watched as Mason, accidentally, rang up 2 coffees for a single guest, then pocketed the cash difference. She saw Linda slip a $10 bill from the tip pool before it was split. When a regular customer, a nurse just off a 12-hour shift, complained about her cold eggs, Linda rolled her eyes and blamed Emily, the part-time college student, for the mix-up. But Rachel wasn't the only one noticing. Alex, the young server with the easy smile, caught Rachel's eye as they passed in the hallway. "You see it too, don't you?" he whispered, barely moving his lips. Rachel nodded. "Every day." Alex sighed. "They're good at covering their tracks. But if you watch closely, you'll see who's really running the show." As the lunch rush picked up, Rachel watched Mason and Linda work their routine. They hovered around the VIP tables, offering free refills and extra sides, while the back tables waited for water and bread. When a big tip came in from a local business owner, Mason made sure to count it out himself. And somehow the pool was always a little lighter than it should have been. Emily, still nervous but trying her best, came to Rachel for advice. "Linda told me to cover her section while she took a break, but then she blamed me for the wrong order. I'm scared I'm going to get fired." Rachel put a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. "You're doing fine. Just keep being yourself. People notice who really cares." During a lull, Rachel slipped into the office, pretending to look for extra menus. She checked the schedule and noticed Mason and Linda had been working the same shifts for weeks, always together, always in control. She glanced at the tip records and saw the numbers didn't add up. She took a quick photo with her phone, heart pounding. Back on the floor, the drama escalated. A regular customer, a retired firefighter named Mr. Jenkins, flagged down Alex to say his soup was cold. Alex apologized, rushed to the kitchen, and brought back a fresh bowl. Mason intercepted him at the pass. "You're not supposed to comp food without my say-so," he snapped. "That's coming out of your tips." Alex's face fell, but he nodded and went back to work. Rachel watched as Linda smirked, then whispered to Mason, "He'll learn or he'll be gone." Rachel caught up with Alex in the break room. "Don't let them get to you," she said quietly. "You're the reason people come back." Alex managed a tired smile. "Thanks. I just wish someone higher up would notice." Rachel's resolve hardened. She knew she needed more than notes and whispers. She started recording snippets of conversation on her phone. Linda bragging about making bank on the lunch rush, Mason telling Emily to pick a side or find another job. She watched for patterns in the tip pool, the way Mason always handled the cash, the way Linda always seemed to get the best tables. The turning point came that afternoon. A big party of 10 came in, a family celebrating a birthday. Mason and Linda swooped in, taking orders, laughing with the parents, and making sure the cake was just right. When the bill came, the family left a generous $100 tip. Rachel watched as Mason pocketed $40 before putting the rest in the pool. Linda winked at him across the room. Rachel waited until the end of the shift, then quietly asked Emily and Alex to meet her in the break room. She shared what she'd seen and heard, showing them the notes and the photo of the tip records. Emily's eyes widened. "I knew something was off. I just didn't know how to prove it." Alex nodded. "We have to do something. This isn't what Harvest Table is supposed to be." Rachel agreed. "We're going to gather as much evidence as we can. We'll talk to the regulars, check the books, and make sure the truth comes out." That night, Rachel stayed late, reviewing the security footage with the night manager, a friend she trusted. Together, they watched Mason and Linda in action, pocketing cash, blaming others for mistakes, manipulating the schedule. The evidence was clear. As Rachel walked home, the air was cool, just 55 degrees Fahrenheit, but she felt a fire in her chest. She thought about the families who came to Harvest Table for a special meal, the staff who just wanted to do their jobs with dignity, and the promise that every meal should feel like home. Tomorrow, Rachel would take the first real step toward making that promise a reality. She'd bring her evidence to the owner, expose Mason and Linda, and fight for the culture she'd built from the ground up. The story was about to break wide open. And for the first time in weeks, Rachel felt hope. The day had finally arrived. The air outside Harvest Table was crisp, hovering around 55 degrees Fahrenheit. But inside the flagship restaurant, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Rachel Evans, still dressed in her waitress uniform but now carrying herself with a new sense of purpose, stood before the gathered staff in the back room. The usual clatter of dishes and hum of conversation had quieted to a tense silence. She cleared her throat, her voice steady but carrying the weight of weeks of observation and discovery. "Thank you all for coming in early today. I have something important to share." Eyes darted around the room. Mason and Linda exchanged wary glances, their usual bravado replaced by unease. Alex and Emily sat side by side, their expressions a mix of hope and anxiety. The floor manager, Tom, stood near the door, his face pale but attentive. Rachel took a deep breath. "Some of you know me as Rachel, the new waitress. But my real name is Rachel Evans. I'm the CEO and founder of Harvest Table." Gasps filled the room. Mason's jaw tightened, Linda's eyes widened, and Alex's mouth fell open. Emily's hands clenched nervously. "I went undercover because I needed to see the truth for myself," Rachel continued. "I wanted to understand what was really happening behind these dining room doors and in the kitchen. What I found was heartbreaking." She laid out the evidence, videos of Mason pocketing extra tips, Linda manipulating order tickets, audio recordings of their conversations plotting against Alex and Emily, and customer complaints about cold service and favoritism. Mason tried to interrupt, but Rachel raised a hand. "I saw you void tickets and pocket cash. I heard you blame Alex for the mistakes you made. This isn't just about theft, it's about respect and integrity." Linda's face flushed with anger. "Everyone does it," she spat. "No," Rachel said firmly. "Not everyone. Alex and Emily showed me what true service looks like. They treated every guest with kindness, no matter who they were. That's the Harvest Table I built. That's the family I want." Turning to the staff, Rachel said, "I know some of you felt powerless, like no one was watching. But I see you. I see your hard work and your heart. Starting today, things will change." She announced immediate actions. Mason and Linda were suspended pending investigation. Tom would receive management training. Alex was promoted to lead server, and Emily would receive mentorship and support. Rachel unveiled the new Meal for All program, allowing customers to buy meals for those in need, fostering community and kindness. The room shifted from tension to tentative hope. Alex smiled, Emily wiped tears, and even Tom looked relieved. As Mason and Linda left in silence, the team gathered around Alex and Emily, their new champions. Rachel spent the rest of the day working alongside her team, serving tables, clearing dishes, and listening to stories. The restaurant felt alive with renewed spirit. Customers noticed the change. Regulars lingered longer, new faces appeared, and the Meal for All board filled with notes of generosity and gratitude. Rachel knew the road ahead would be challenging, but with a team united by respect and kindness, Harvest Table was ready to reclaim its promise. As the sun set, Rachel stood at the door, watching her family, staff, and guests alike thrive in the warmth of a place reborn. "This is just the beginning," she thought. "Every meal should feel like home, and every family deserves the truth." Stay tuned for the final chapter of this journey. The morning sun filtered softly through the large windows of Harvest Table, casting a warm glow over the freshly polished wooden floors. The air inside was a comfortable 72 degrees Fahrenheit, filled with the rich aroma of sizzling steaks and freshly baked bread. But more than the scents and sounds, There was a new energy in the restaurant. A sense of hope, renewal, and community. Rachel Evans stood near the entrance, no longer disguised as the waitress but dressed casually in a crisp button-down and jeans. Her chestnut hair was pulled back neatly, and her eyes sparkled with a mix of pride and determination. The journey she had taken, from undercover waitress to the woman who would lead Harvest Table into a new era, had changed her deeply. She watched as Alex, now promoted to lead server, moved confidently through the dining room, greeting guests with genuine warmth. Emily, no longer the nervous new hire, balanced plates with grace and smiled easily at customers. The staff worked together seamlessly, their camaraderie evident in the quick exchanges and shared laughter. Rachel's heart swelled as she saw Mason, the floor manager, now more approachable and supportive, checking in with every server and offering encouragement. Linda, once cold and distant, had softened, taking on a mentorship role for the newer staff. The meal for all board near the entrance was covered with colorful notes, messages of kindness, gratitude, and community support. Customers had embraced the program enthusiastically, buying meals for those in need and sharing stories of generosity. One note read, "For the single mom who deserves a night off," while another said, "In honor of my dad, who always loved this place." Rachel moved through the restaurant, stopping to chat with customers and staff alike. She listened to stories of how the changes had touched lives, how Alex's kindness had made a regular feel seen, how Emily's patience had calmed a nervous child, how Mason's leadership had inspired the team to work together. Linda approached Rachel during a quiet moment. "I never thought I'd say this," she admitted, "but this place feels like home again." Rachel smiled warmly. "That's exactly what it should be." The day wore on, and the restaurant hosted its first community dinner under the new program. Families, seniors, and individuals from all walks of life gathered around tables laden with hearty meals and warm conversation. Laughter echoed through the dining room, blending with the clinking of glasses and the soft hum of a live acoustic guitar. Rachel took a moment to step outside, the cool evening air brushing against her face. She looked back at the glowing sign of Harvest Table, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. The road ahead would have challenges, but with a team united by respect and kindness, she was confident they could face anything. She thought about the lessons learned, the importance of leadership grounded in empathy, the power of standing up for what's right, and the transformative effect of kindness. These were the true ingredients that made Harvest Table more than just a restaurant. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Rachel returned inside to join her team. Together, they closed the night with a toast to new beginnings, to family, and to the promise that every meal, every guest, and every moment mattered. "This is our home," Rachel said, raising her glass. "And here, everyone belongs." Stay tuned for more stories from Harvest Table, where the real flavor is in the heart.